It hurts because it's true the moment you decide to rise, invisible hands try to pull you back down, not because you're weak, but because your growth exposes their comfort. They don't want you to win because your discipline shames their excuses, your focus threatens their laziness, and your courage reminds them of the risks they were too afraid to take. Understand this: opposition is proof you're on the right path. The world rewards obedience, not greatness, and the second you stop playing small, you become a problem. They'll doubt you, mock you, distract you, and label your ambition as arrogance. But that noise is the final test before freedom. You must break free by mastering yourself when no one is watching, by choosing pain today over regret tomorrow, by turning criticism into fuel and isolation into power. Stop asking for permission to be exceptional. Nobody is coming to save you, and that's the best news you'll ever hear because it means your destiny is in your hands. Rise early, move in silence, build relentlessly, and never explain yourself to people who benefit from your failure. If they don't want you to win, that's your signal to win anyway. Harder, louder, and without apology. Keynotes: ruthless self-discipline, emotional control under pressure, independence from approval, relentless execution. 66. Discipline is the foundation of freedom because without it, your life is run by impulses, moods, and excuses instead of intention and strength. And that is the quietest form of slavery. Every time you wake up and wait to feel motivated, you hand control of your future to emotions that change like the weather. Feelings are unreliable, comfort is seductive, and ease is a liar that slowly steals your potential. Discipline is what stands firm when motivation disappears, when the pain shows up, when the results are slow, and when nobody is clapping for you. It is the ability to do what must be done even when every part of you wants to quit, delay, or distract itself. People who lack discipline believe freedom means doing whatever they want, whenever they want, but that mindset traps them in cycles of regret, weakness, and self-betrayal. True freedom is being able to command yourself to say no to comfort, no to temptation, no to the easy path, and yes to the work that builds power, confidence, and respect. Without discipline, emotions rule your decisions, anger controls your reactions, fear controls your choices, and laziness controls your future. You don't become free by escaping structure. You become free by creating structure so strong that chaos can't touch you. Discipline trains your mind to act instead of react, to think instead of panic, to endure instead of complain. It sharpens your character until pressure no longer breaks you but forges you. Every disciplined action is a vote for the person you want to become, and every undisciplined moment is a quiet agreement to stay small. When you master discipline, you stop negotiating with weakness and start enforcing standards. You wake up with purpose, move with clarity, and live with control because your habits now serve you instead of sabotage you. Discipline teaches you that pain is temporary, but regret lasts forever. That comfort now costs you everything later, and that the hardest choices create the strongest lives. This is why disciplined people appear calm in chaos and confident under pressure. They are not fighting themselves every day. They have already won the internal war. Freedom is not found in pleasure, entertainment, or escape. It is found in self-command, in consistency, and in the quiet pride of knowing you did what needed to be done even when it hurt. The moment you build discipline, you stop being a victim of circumstances and start becoming the author of your destiny. You no longer wait for the perfect moment because you understand that action creates momentum, not the other way around. Discipline turns ordinary days into extraordinary results. And over time, it separates those who dream from those who dominate. If you want real freedom, the kind that gives you control over your time, your money, your body, and your mind, then discipline is not optional. It is the price of admission. Without it, you will always be chasing, coping, and coping again. With it, you stand unshaken, unbothered, and unstoppable. Discipline is the foundation of freedom because without it, your emotions become your master, pulling you in a different direction every single day, leaving you exhausted, confused, and stuck in the same place year after year. When emotions lead, consistency dies. One day you feel inspired, the next day you feel tired, offended, bored, or unmotivated, and your goals are quietly postponed again. This is how dreams rot, not from failure, but from emotional decision-making. Emotions are powerful, but they are not intelligent leaders. They crave comfort, instant relief, validation, and pleasure, not long-term growth. If you obey them, you wake up late, Avoid hard conversations, quit when it hurts, and chase distractions that numb you instead of challenges that build you. Discipline is the ability to act independently of how you feel. It is choosing to move forward even when your mind screams for comfort. That is where freedom begins. A man without discipline is constantly negotiating with himself, arguing over simple actions, exhausting his mental energy before the day even starts. Should I work or rest? Should I train or skip? Should I speak up or stay quiet? These internal battles are the chains people don't see. Discipline removes negotiation. It creates rules, standards, and non-negotiables that eliminate emotional chaos. When your actions are already decided, your emotions lose their power over you. You no longer ask, "Do I feel like it?" You ask, "What must be done?" That shift alone separates leaders from followers, winners from spectators. Emotional people wait for the right mood. Disciplined people create results regardless of mood. Without discipline, emotions hijack your reactions. Anger makes you say things that damage your reputation. Fear keeps you small when opportunity appears. Laziness convinces you tomorrow will be better, while tomorrow quietly steals today. Discipline gives you emotional control, not by suppressing feelings, but by refusing to let them dictate behavior. You can feel tired and still train. You can feel afraid and still act. You can feel unmotivated and still execute. That is real strength. Anyone can perform when they feel good. Only disciplined individuals perform when they don't. People often confuse freedom with comfort, but comfort is the fastest path to emotional slavery. The more you chase ease, the weaker your tolerance for discomfort becomes. Soon, even minor challenges feel overwhelming. Discipline deliberately exposes you to controlled hardship so your emotional resilience grows. Waking up early, training your body, sharpening your mind, sticking to commitments, these acts harden you. Over time, what once felt painful becomes normal, and what once felt impossible becomes routine. That is freedom, not avoiding discomfort, but being so strong that discomfort no longer controls you. Discipline also builds self-respect, and self-respect is emotional armor. When you keep promises to yourself, you trust yourself. When you trust yourself, doubt loses its grip. Anxiety fades because you know you will act when required. Confidence grows not from words, but from proof created by disciplined behavior repeated daily. A disciplined person doesn't need motivation speeches to feel powerful. Their confidence is earned, not borrowed. The undisciplined life is reactive. It reacts to opinions, criticism, praise, trends, and moods. One comment can ruin the day. One setback can end the effort. Discipline creates a proactive life. You decide who you are, what you tolerate, and what you pursue. External noise becomes irrelevant because your internal standards are louder. That is freedom from validation, freedom from approval, freedom from emotional dependence on others. Over time, discipline compounds. Small, boring actions done daily create massive control over your body, time, money, and mindset. That control is what people envy but rarely understand. They see the results and assume luck, privilege, or talent, never realizing it was discipline that quietly built everything. Emotions fluctuate, but discipline accumulates. It stacks wins while emotions chase feelings. If you want to stop being controlled by anger, fear, laziness, and doubt, discipline is the only way out. Not intensity, not motivation, not desire, discipline. It is the invisible force that turns chaos into order and weakness into strength. The moment you choose discipline, you stop being a slave to how you feel and start becoming the authority over who you are. That is true freedom. Discipline is the foundation of freedom because emotions are impulsive, impatient, and short-sighted. And when they control your actions, your life becomes unstable and predictable in the worst way. You wake up driven by how you feel instead of what you decided, and that means your direction changes daily. One bad mood can destroy momentum, one moment of comfort can erase weeks of effort, and one emotional reaction can cost you opportunities you worked years to reach. This is how people stay trapped without realizing it. They think they are choosing freely, but in reality, they are reacting. Reaction is not freedom. Reaction is surrender. Discipline is what breaks that cycle by placing decision-making above emotion and purpose above pleasure. When you lack discipline, emotions dictate your priorities. You work when you feel inspired, you train when you feel energetic, you speak up only when you feel confident. The problem is that emotions rarely align with progress. Growth requires doing uncomfortable things at inconvenient times, and emotions resist discomfort by design. Discipline does not eliminate emotions, it overrides them. It says, I hear you, but you do not decide. That internal authority is what most people never develop. They remain prisoners of hesitation, fear, excitement, and doubt, bouncing between highs and lows with nothing solid anchoring them. Discipline becomes that anchor. An undisciplined mind seeks immediate relief. It scrolls instead of studies, sleeps instead of acts, avoids instead of confronts. Each time you give in, you reinforce a pattern of weakness, and patterns shape identity. Soon, you don't just act undisciplined, you become someone who cannot trust themselves. That lack of self-trust fuels anxiety, insecurity, and overthinking because deep down you know you might quit again. Discipline rebuilds that trust. Every time you act despite resistance, you prove to yourself that your word matters. That proof accumulates, and with it comes calm, confidence, and control. Emotional slavery often disguises itself as authenticity. People say, I'm just being honest about how I feel, while letting anger justify cruelty, fear justify inaction, and sadness justify stagnation. Discipline teaches emotional responsibility. You can acknowledge how you feel without obeying it. You can feel angry without exploding, afraid without freezing, tired without stopping. That separation between feeling and action is power. Without it, emotions become excuses. With it, emotions become information, not commands. Discipline also frees you from external manipulation. A person ruled by emotion is easy to control. Praise can inflate them, criticism can crush them, temptation can distract them. They live on a leash held by other people's opinions and circumstances. Discipline cuts that leash. When your actions are driven by standards instead of approval, you become difficult to influence and impossible to derail. You no longer chase validation because your confidence comes from execution, not applause. Many people fear discipline because they think it limits freedom, but the opposite is true. Structure creates space. When you control your time, body, and habits, you gain options. When you don't, life controls you. Financial stress, poor health, unstable emotions, these are the real cages. Discipline is what prevents them. It builds stability so you can take risks, speak boldly, and move independently. Freedom is not the absence of rules. It is having rules that protect your future. A disciplined life is quieter but stronger. There is less drama, fewer emotional swings, and more consistency. You stop seeking intensity and start valuing progress. You understand that boring days, repeated correctly, produce extraordinary outcomes. While others chase motivation, you rely on routine. While others wait for clarity, you act and create it. This is why disciplined people advance while emotional people explain. Over time, discipline reshapes identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who finishes. That identity shift changes everything: how you walk, how you speak, how you decide. You no longer fear hard days because you know you can handle them. You no longer fear failure because you trust your ability to respond. Emotional freedom is not about feeling good all the time. It is about not being controlled when you don't. In the end, discipline is self-respect in action. It is choosing long-term dignity over short-term relief. It is the quiet decision made daily to live intentionally instead of impulsively. Without discipline, emotions own you. With discipline, emotions serve you. And that is the difference between existing and truly being free. In the end, understand this clearly: no one escapes the life they tolerate. If you allow emotions to decide your actions, you will repeat the same year forever, blaming circumstances while quietly betraying your potential. Power does not come from feeling ready, confident, or inspired. It comes from acting when you don't. Every strong life is built on moments where discipline overruled comfort. The pain you avoid today becomes the regret that haunts you tomorrow. And the effort you commit to today becomes the freedom you live in later. This is the lesson most people learn too late. Freedom is earned, not given, and it is paid for with daily self-control. So here is what you must do. Decide your standards and stop negotiating with weakness. Wake up earlier than your excuses. Train your body even when your mind resists. Do the hard work before pleasure, the necessary work before distraction. Cut off habits that numb you and replace them with habits that sharpen you. Move in silence, stay consistent, and let results speak. When emotions rise, acknowledge them, then act anyway. Discipline is not punishment, it is self-respect. Choose it daily, and over time, you will realize the truth. Nothing controls you anymore.